So I wanted to start today's video. I always talk about how I'm out in the backyard, but I just wanted to show you what I was doing. So there's a cactus that I bought recently, and this is a thing that I built that I'm going to, I want the vines to grow over it, and then I'm going to put a chair in there and make it kind of like a tranquil garden thing. And then I have my little plants here that I'm growing, and they go all the way around there. And then I have my bird of paradise, and this, I don't know what it's called, a yellow trumpet is what I call it. And then the rest of my garden, which is a retaining wall that I built. And then my rose bushes that I recently planted, and some more plants along here. And then my pride and joy, which I want to grow. These are soon to be, hopefully, pumpkin vines. And that dust you see on them is to keep the squirrels away. So yeah, this is my garden. This is my backyard. This is where I always sit and do my videos. So let's go. So yeah, David here. So I wanted to make this video today because recently, I'm sure you've heard about it, but I've been recently reading a lot about how the military is having problems recruiting people. And they're saying that, you know, most people are below the physical standards and all that. And I want to say to all the young people out there, because me, I don't have to worry about it. And then my daughter, she's too young. But I wanted to say to all the people out there that are in that age group that they look for selective service and all that, is please don't go into the military. I hear people say all the time that, well, you know, I was in extreme poverty and my parents were a mess and I wanted to go into the military so I could go to college. Well, let me tell you something. I was in poverty. My parents were a mess. My mom had borderline personality disorder and my dad was an alcoholic. But I didn't go into the military. I did go to college. So the military, you don't have to go to the military in order to get yourself out of bad situations. What you got to do is you just got to like have a strong mindset. But like for example, the reason I wanted to make this video is I wanted to discourage people from going in the military, and I wanted to give valid reasons, not just, you know, talk about, oh, the military industrial complex, blah, blah, blah. Like my dad was drafted and fought in Vietnam, and my grandfather volunteered and fought in World War II. And both my grandfather and my father pretty much begged me, told me, please, to not go into the military. So I never did, and I'm fine. But one of the things that I want to talk about is how, like, when you go into the military, you're pretty much, especially if you go in like as an E1, it's different if you go in as an officer, but if you go in like an E1, you're pretty much living in poverty, you know, but it doesn't really matter because they give you food, they give you clothing, and you're living in the barracks. But if you're a young man trying to raise a family on an E1 military salary, y'all going to be living in poverty, even with their housing allowances. You know, you can look up and see that many military members are on food stamps and supplemental issues to help them with their income. And, you know, they ended up having to pass a law to stop military people from getting payday loans because the payday loans was jeopardizing their security clearance, because all of these military people were so broke that they couldn't survive unless they got payday loans. So, anyway. But the thing that I want to talk about is how much the military doesn't give a crap about you. And I can speak from experience because, you know, I am a nurse. And I did work at the Veterans Hospital for a time when I was travel nursing. So I want to tell 3 little stories. They're not long, they're short. The first story is about this guy that I used to work with. And he was a Navy veteran, retired from the military, spent his whole career in the military. And, you know, he was gung-ho all the way. So he started having a little problem. He got like a sore on his tongue. So it wasn't going away. So, of course, he went to the Veterans Hospital. Goes in there, and they look at him and say, oh, man, it's just a canker sore. Don't worry about it. You're good to go. Well, comes out, it wasn't a canker sore. He had stage 4 cancer on his tongue. Ended up losing his jaw, and because the veteran hospital took so long to see him and diagnose it, he died. Then there was my father, Vietnam veteran, not retired from the military, but did his time. He went to the veteran hospital. He was also one of these gung-ho guys. Went to the veterans hospital. He was having some difficulty with swallowing and acid reflux. Oh, you're fine. Put him on a omeprazole, Pepcid. You'll be good. No, stage 3B, esophageal cancer, died. Then I had a buddy, Iraq veteran, nurse, my house supervisor. I am 10 years older than him, and I remember we would park in the parking lot and walk in together, and he wasn't a fat guy. He was skinny, you know, and he would get to the door and be out of breath. And I would like joke with him and say, hey man, you know, man, you're 10 years younger than me, and Jesus, you're acting like an old man. So he thought, well, you know, I need to start going and working out. So he went to, before he started his workout routine, he went to the veterans hospital, you know, to get checked out. They told him, yeah, you know, you need to work out, blah, blah, blah. So he starts working out. And he notices that when he's working out, he's having like this real horrible lightheadedness. And one day he almost passes out at the gym. So he goes home, and his wife, and he's like, yeah, I need to call my doctor at the veterans hospital. And his wife got mad and says, quit calling those stupid doctors at the veterans hospital and go to a private. Because he worked at a job, he had private insurance, go to the private hospital. So he did. They immediately admitted him, and he ended up having to have a triple bypass surgery because of a heart condition that runs in his family. And I was there because, like I said, we were friends, so I would go visit him. And I was there sitting in his room when the doctor came in after the surgery and said that if the Veterans Hospital would have done the right thing, he probably would have needed maybe a stent or two. But because they, number one, misdiagnosed him, and number two, really didn't give a crap and pay attention to his symptoms, he ended up having to have a triple bypass surgery at 34 years old. So this is why I don't understand why anybody goes in the military. Do you really believe that it's about the flag and patriotism? Because if it was really about the flag and patriotism, wouldn't the first children or the first people to go into the military be the children of presidents and senators and congresspeople? Yes, there's a few, but a very few. The majority of them, their kids ain't going to that crap. And also, look at rich people. Are rich people sending their kids to the military? No. The military is for bodies. That if there's a war, they can just throw bodies against it and get it, you get killed. And then, you come out of Iraq or Afghanistan or whatever, Vietnam, and you have PTSD. They don't help you. They end up committing suicide. One famous suicide that went viral on the internet was Ronnie McNutt. If you've never heard that name, Ronnie McNutt, Google it and watch the video where he blows his head off with a shotgun, or a rifle. It's available. You can find it. Don't worry. Ronnie McNutt. And he was a veteran that couldn't get help. Started drinking, had PTSD issues, and went on Facebook Live and blew his head completely off. If you watch the video, it's a horrible mess. And we see military veterans end up on the streets, homeless and stuff like that, because they don't care. They don't care. They try their best to cut your benefits and, lead you to suicide. And so I'm proud to see that young people these days, millennials and Zoomers, whatever they call them, are not joining the military, because why do you want to die for corporations' bottom line? It doesn't mean anything. And to be honest with you, the last real war that the United States actually fought for, I guess you can say, for noble causes and maybe for its own survival, was World War II. But since then, Vietnam, we lost Vietnam. It didn't mean nothing. Us losing it, did it make us die? No. Korea, we didn't win there. It was a tie. Did us not winning that make anything bad happen? No. Both Iraq wars and then the Afghanistan thing, we pretty much wasted a bunch of money, wasted some lives, killed a bunch of civilians, didn't really do anything. They're still terrorists. ISIS still exists. Al-Qaeda still exists. Didn't really do anything. Fought a war for 20 years and those people still exist. The Taliban's still in Afghanistan. ISIS is still in the world. Al-Qaeda is still in the world. So did it really mean anything? Did it stop anything? There's still been terrorist attacks since then. So it didn't really do anything. So, really, like I said, the last world war that the United States fought for its own maybe survival or for moral reasons was World War II. And since then, it's just been a bunch of money-making schemes for the military-industrial complex. And it has nothing to do with patriotism. I always say, people ask me, well, Dave, if you don't believe in the military, would you fight if something bad happened? And I always say, there's one circumstance that would cause me to fight. And that only circumstances is if foreign troops landed in America. Then yes, I would fight because this is my home. Even though if I had the money, I would definitely leave America. But wherever I am, if my home is being invaded, I'm going to fight because not for the America or because of the flag or anything like that, for George Washington or any bullshit like that, just for the survival of my family. And to be honest with you, if my family wasn't around, and say for example, my family wasn't around, would I fight then? No, not really. I wouldn't fight. If somebody pointed a gun at me, I'd shoot them, but I wouldn't care if they were American or Russian or Chinese or whatever they were. Who gives a crap? I just protect my own life. But yeah, I'm glad to see that the recruiting numbers are down. And I always say, the only reason war exists in this world is because people have been brainwashed. The common man I'm talking about here has been brainwashed to believe that going and dying for your country is patriotic. The only reason kings or presidents or dictators can fight a war is because common men have been brainwashed to be the ones that go out there and bleed for it. If the common man of all these countries just said, no, bitch, we're not going to do this. You'll say, well, then they'll press you into service or conscriptions or whatever. We're seeing that in Russia. You still don't have to fight. If I was the Russian troops, I would be surrendering to the Ukrainians and staying in that side or escaping across the border or something like that. I would be like, no, I'm not fighting. I would have left the country a long time ago. But anyway, that's where they get you. The brainwashing, die for your country, it's patriotic. It's not. So I want to say, good job to the young people. Do not join the military in any circumstance. If there is ever a draft, burn your draft cards, go to Canada, go to Mexico, get the hell out of here like they did during Vietnam. Don't go die to make Bell Helicopter or Voight Aircraft or General Dynamics stock go up. They don't care about you. When you get back with your legs blown off and PTSD, they ain't gonna do shit for you. And screw the military. It's a waste of time, and it gets too much money anyway. We should use that money for better causes. So this is David, Zoe Zizzles. Make sure to like and subscribe. Bye.